Okay. So, hello everyone. Good evening, and thank you for joining us tonight. My name is Vandana, and I am your host tonight. We have a very special guest today, Ann Hession. Am I pronouncing your last name correctly? Hession? Ann?
Yep. Sorry,
Okay.
you broke up for a second. If it was me or you.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. So, Ann is our woo-woo sales expert, and tonight she will be talking about sales because um, we being in holistic practices, like we are mostly like when I started my own practice, I was pretty much not scared, but a little hesitant to, talk about my prices and how we all start all our practice.
Mhm.
So, Anne is a woo-woo sales expert and who helps the healers and the soulpreneurs who have amazing gifts for the world but are allergic to the cells, same like me, and selling. So, as a medical intuitive and energy healer, over 30 years of experience in her transformational healing, and a sales expert who has personally sold millions of dollars of programs and services. She is uniquely qualified to help heart-based business owners make a bigger difference in the people's lives and get paid well to do it. So, welcome, Anne. Thank you for being our speaker tonight. And over to you.
All right. Well, it's great to be here. I'm excited to connect with you all and see what I can do. I'd love to just get a better sense of of who's here, the kind of work that you do, right? So personally, I'm an energy healer. I do a bunch of different types of energy healing modalities. What other, and I know that's probably some of you, but that's not the only thing that would be under like holistic. So can you go and tell me just real quick what you do? I want to have a good sense of who I'm talking to.
Okay, I'll go.
Yeah,
Similar, I do energy healing work and a whole bunch of modalities, and I do sound healing.
beautiful. All right, great. Who else? You can just put it in the chat or just pop up and unmute.
Yeah. If you are comfortable talking, that
Yeah,
please go ahead, or you can put everything in
I can go
chat.
next.
Sure.
yeah, please.
Yeah, so I also do a sound healing, but on a vibroacoustic table, and I do astrology.
Beautiful. All right, who else?
I am a I'm a board certified homeopath, and like I practice Reiki, but not on my clients, just like friends and family.
Right.
Mhm.
All right, great. And Julianne, you think you were about to
Yeah,
go?
I was. I'm a reflexologist, and I also do several different somatic movement and somatic inquiry methods. TRE is one, and a few others.
All right, great. And Kristen's saying, yeah, certified reflexologist and Reiki certified. Beautiful. Who else?
Okay.
Just kind of give me some. Yeah.
I'm the only one not showing.
What did
My
you?
name is Lauren, and
Yeah,
I'm a teacher, but I also am certified in Reiki, Ayurveda, and I've been studying some astrology and mystical card science.
awesome. Very cool. All right. So anyone else?
I'm a certified expressive arts facilitator, but
Mhm.
I recently wrote a book called I Chose Love, How to Thrive After a Life-Threatening Illness Using Love to Heal You. So I guess that zeroes in on the energy, because I
Yeah,
think love is certainly the highest form.
yeah, absolutely. All right, great. Well, welcome everybody, and thanks for just kind of giving me a sense of who's here. And I actually want to start just telling a little story, just because I think it's something I'll relate to, about a client of mine named Ladina. And when she first came to work with me, she was trying to get her energy healing practice going. And how she described herself is she described herself as someone who cringed at the thought of selling anyone anything. Right. And she was doing lots of sessions for lots of people, but she was maybe being paid for like 1 out of 10. Right. Can anybody relate to that? Right. And she said she was scared of being seen, and she was scared of asking for money for what she did. Right. And that's exactly who I'm here to help. Right, so after some time working together, she actually, just a few months later, it was really great how quickly this all turned around for her. After about 3 months, she was averaging 12 paying clients a week, charging almost twice what she had thought she would be able to charge, would feel comfortable charging. And she told me the best part was that sales conversations that she used to cringe at the thought of were now actually fun for her. And I wanted to share that story with you guys, because that's not just like improvement, right? That's like transformation, right? That's sort of life changing when you go from like, I'm scared to charge anything to like, oh, great, a sales conversation. I'm psyched, right? And that's really what I'm all about, right? Is to help healers of any sort to transform their whole relationship. Because look, at the reality is, if you don't have sales, you don't have a business. It's just that simple, right? And most sailors are like allergic to sales, as I like to say, and there's so much negativity around it. And it is the thing that's the biggest thing, that's holding them back from having a real business doing the work that they love to do. So I'm here to support the healers. I am one myself, but I'm here to support the healers because the world needs them. And so if I can support the healers, then the healers can go save the world. That's my plan. So does that sound good? So I'll share a little bit about me. So I am a medical intuitive and energy healer. I live here in Rhode Island. I built my own energy healing practice to over 6 figures in a little over a year, which is not common in the energy healing world, right? What I do now, I still have an energy healing practice that's kind of on the side, but what I do now is mostly work with other healers and help them to create a successful business, because I have a much bigger impact that way, right? Actually than just being clients myself. And so all of that sounds great, and it's amazing. I have a really successful business doing what I love to do. And it wasn't like this smooth trajectory. Have any of you guys noticed having a business isn't like that? It kind of goes like this, and this, and then this, right? So there was a time when I hated sales. It made me nauseous. Right? In fact, I'll tell you, I'll share just a little story from about it's late July, way back in 2007. And my husband and our 2 daughters, and we were driving home to Rhode Island from my family reunion in Western Massachusetts, at the farm where my grandfather grew up. And partway home, we realized we don't have enough gas to get home, right? So we pull into a gas station, a convenience store to get some gas, not to fill up the tank. We don't have enough money to fill up the tank. And if you guys know what that feels, what that's like, right? But it's like, we just got to get home. But then the girls are in the back seat, right? And of course, what happens if you have kids, right? They peep up and they see the convenience store and they're like, oh, mommy, I'm so hungry. I'm starving. Can we get a snack? I'm so hungry. And I just had to look at them, because the reality is there was like less than $20 in our bank account and nothing in my wallet. And I just had to say, honey, I'm sorry, you're going to have to wait till we get home. And there's food at home and my kids get fed that night. But the whole rest of the way home, like all I could think of is I just had to choose between getting gas and feeding my kids. And I don't know if any of y'all have ever been in, that kind of situation, but it kind of changes you, right? I mean, there's certain moments in life where life kind of gets divided into like what life was like before that moment, and then what life's like after that moment. And for me, this was one of those moments. You've all had moments like that, I'm sure, right? And it was like, I finally just had to get straight with myself. I was trying to make a living as a coach at the time, and I was obviously failing. And I just finally got out of denial. Like I had to learn how to sell. Like it didn't matter how good I was at what I did. It didn't matter how much I loved it. It didn't matter how much I wanted to help people. If I couldn't learn how to sell what I did, I wasn't going to be able to help anybody, least of all myself. So it was like one of those kind of watershed moments for me, right? Where I was like, I have to learn how to sell. Now, that was an important realization, but there was also a little problem with it, which is that I was afraid of selling and I kind of hated it, right? And the thing is that up until that moment, that had always stopped me. But that was the moment where I was decided I wasn't going to let that stop me anymore, and I was going to dig deep. And that's really what made the difference. And what I mean by that is like I'm like I assume everybody else here, I'm like a seeker kind of person. Do you know what I mean? Like we're the kind of people, we go deep. We examine our limiting beliefs. We realize that we have limiting beliefs, right? And we work to free ourselves from them, right? And I just realized I had to do that about my relationship to sales the way I had done it about other things. So that decision to like be willing to just let go of all of those preconceptions and all of that very, very negative stuff I had about sales ended up being one of the most important decisions of my life. And honestly, I think it was one of the most spiritual decisions of my life in its own way, right? To just really let go of all that. And it gave me the clarity and I guess kind of the courage to go do something that I never would have thought I would do. So here's what I did. I went and got a sales job. I went and got 100% commission only sales job. I was like, I got to learn this stuff. I'm going to get paid for learning it. Right. And I did that sales training at that job. Like my life depended on it. I just took it all in. And over time, I got pretty good at it. I read books. I went to other trainings and I discovered that there were things I really like about sales, like helping people solve problems. Anybody here like helping people solve problems, right? That's like one of the things we love to do. And sales is a big part of it. It's a big part of sales. And I actually even then got another job and it's much more like sort of high pressure, not pressure sales per se, but it was like a much bigger deal. I remember I literally threw up partway through the hiring process. It was very intense. But I made it through and I actually became one of their best salespeople. And along that journey, right, I learned some really wonderful skills that I still use to this day. I also learned some things that I about how sales don't like and doesn't work for me, right? And over time, I developed my way of doing heart-centered, what I call soulful sales, which is the only kind of sales for people like us. And because of that, I now have a multi-six-figure business doing energy healing and helping other healers to create success. And I get to wake up to news like from my clients telling me that, they're like making it. They're finally making it. They've already met their income goal for the year, and it's only September, and they just got their biggest client ever, and that kind of stuff that just lights me up, right? Because then I know that's the ripple effect is huge, and so that's kind of like what gets me up in the morning, right? Is knowing I'm making a difference like that. So, so that was my story about how I did it, the hard way. I kind of joke about like that I went and I got those sales jobs, like for the healers and soulpreneurs of the world. I took one for the team. I went and did that, so y'all don't have to. Okay. So I did it that way, right? With the nausea and the trial by fire and the years and years of figuring out. So who'd like to learn it the much, much easier way? So you don't have to go through everything that I did. All right, cool. So I'm actually
thank you.
Yeah. So I'm going to do some slides just to kind of, help you guys get a grip of stuff, and feel free to take screenshots of anything that you're seeing useful, but I'm going to start doing that now. So hold on a sec. All right. So actually, before I go to the slides, I will say I'm going to go over what I think are the three biggest sort of challenges for healers and what I call soulpreneurs, right? People who are this what we do is part of our soul's calling. So and then how to spot those, like the challenge and mistakes, and avoid them while staying yourself, and give you some really simple, practical techniques and tools that you can use right away. Like literally, you could use them right away tomorrow. And then at the end, I have a really, really special invitation for you. Okay. So with no further ado, this is what I find to be the big sort of challenge or mistake, or however you want to talk about it, I'm going to say number 3, because I'm going to count down from 3 down to 1. Okay. So I find that this is absolutely just hamstringing most healers. And I should actually say, over the course of the last 10 years, I have literally had over 10,000 one-to-one conversations, sales conversations with other energy healers. You know, people say literally, they just mean, I mean literally. I truly have had over 10,000 conversations with other healers, signing them up for different kinds of programs and getting certified and things. And so when I say that this is what I find to be the biggest challenges, it's based on a lot of data. Does that make sense? I've talked to a lot of people, and I've learned a lot from it, and I want to share that all with you to help you move past them. Okay, so that's big mistake number 3 is, the way I like to put it is, it's kind of like, it's really in the internal, in the belief. It's like believing you have to be someone else. And I would say, by the way, someone you don't want to be, right? In order to be able to sell what you do. And so I'm going to describe this a little bit. You guys let me know if it resonates, right? And so here's what I mean by that. You're talking with someone and you're getting along great, right? There's this nice human to human connection going. You're both interested in what you're talking about, and then something happens, right? Like maybe they say they're interested in working with you, or they ask what you charge, right? Who gets triggered by that, right? They're like, what do you charge? And there's the like, moment, right? Or they, ask if they can make an appointment, but whatever it is, suddenly it's all weird. Does that sound familiar to any of you guys? Yeah. You don't know what to say. You're like in your head, you're like, now I'm supposed to sell them. What do I do? The bottom line is you're not present anymore, right? That cool, interesting person that they were really enjoying talking with. So that would be, excuse me, that would be you. That person's like gone, right? Because unbeknownst to you, there's all these hidden beliefs around like being sell. You can't just be you have to be, turn into like Joe the weird salesperson. So, and there's a whole network of like related underlying beliefs. So see if you recognize any of these. Okay. You may have any or all of these going on. Something along the lines of salespeople are pushy and obnoxious. Right. And I don't mean pushy and obnoxious. So it's like, who here is horrified at the idea of coming across as pushy? Right. It's like that would be the worst thing. Right. Or to be effective selling, it's about manipulating, right? That's what sales is. Or that to sell is about convincing. Selling, can I tell you, real sales is never about convincing anybody of anything, right? But we have it like sales is about convincing, right? Or just the flat out salespeople are liars, right? And I don't want to be that. And then it compounds, like there's another layer, right? Because guess what? We all know that everybody else has all these weird negative beliefs around sales too, right? And so who thinks you might also have this going on? Some version of like, people are going to see me differently, and they're going to think bad things about me if they think I'm trying to sell them, right? So can you guys see, like, who can see that this is something like this is like totally in the way of you being able to just be yourself in the moment, right? It's like once sales is on the table, suddenly you're gone. So it's a big issue. And so you can see what happens. It's like, if you believe you can't be yourself once it's quote unquote time to sell, but you have to have sales to have a business, your brain kind of concludes, I have to be someone else that I don't want to be. And it's just this no-win belief, right? It's just this dissonance in there. And believing any version of this, it just sort of stops you before you even start, right? And that's really because of who you are, right? You're heart-centered, authentic connection kind of person. So the idea of being someone else it just doesn't work for us, right? So can you guys see that? It's like when that conversation gets to that point where these beliefs get triggered, you're just kind of gone. It's what's underlying those awkward dead moments in the conversation, right? And it's, it really is, it's these underlying beliefs, because your beliefs are telling you have nowhere to go in the conversation that you think will work for you. Okay, is this tracking for you guys? Making sense? Yeah. So the first news is that I have really good news. That whole thing about having to become, Susie or Joe, the obnoxious salesperson, is not true. In fact, it's the complete opposite, right? Really, the most important and powerful and effective thing you can do in any situation, especially including a sales situation, is really to be yourself, right? Like just being here and now and fully present in the moment, right? So that's one thing. Like, I hope they're a little sigh of relief, hopefully. But at the same time, the reality is it isn't always easy to be ourselves and fully present, right? Especially when there's these hidden beliefs running around in the background. So, who'd like some sort of in the moment skills you could use to stay present or kind of bring yourself back so you could be your authentic self, fully present, even when you start to get sort of yanked away. Does that sound good? So I'm gonna teach you. So if you get thrown, okay. So being yourself, and so if imagine this, the conversation gets to that selling part, and you feel a little uncomfortable. And by the way, there's a whole other reason why that's uncomfortable too, which we're going to get to next. That's nothing to do with the beliefs, and that's going to change everything. But so imagine you're talking with someone, and maybe they ask if they can work with you, or what you charge, or what if you are nervous, but instead of disappearing, right, you could still be yourself. Like, what if, even though you were uncomfortable, you could actually stay present in the conversation and say something like, it's funny, but sometimes I'm a little uncomfortable when people ask about working with me because I'm still figuring out what's the best way to talk about what I do, right? And you could even ask them, like, do you feel that way? Like something about so amazing, it could be hard to express it. Like, imagine that instead of deer in the headlights, trying to turn into, Joe the cookie salesperson. Let me know in the chat if you could see yourself doing that, right? If that you're like, that you could still just stay present, even if it's a little uncomfortable. And if you like the idea of that, better than. So, for me, it's like, there's sort of a what just happened. It's still just a real conversation. You're still in that same real conversation. Instead of mentally leaving, you're actually creating empathy and understanding and a shared experience of authenticity, right? So great, Janine, so you can see yourself doing that. There's different ways to help us stay present, but the one I'm teaching right now is, I just call it keep it real, right? And I just gave you an example of it. Something comes up where you feel uncomfortable because it's starting to become a sales conversation, and you're getting sort of triggered, right? So what you can do to bring yourself back is, it's like I said, you're going to kind of call yourself out, or it's really more like call yourself back in, right? By just naming what's happening, saying what's real, just tell the truth with like, hey, sometimes this part is a little hard for me to figure out the best way to talk about it, right? And it's so much more appealing for both you and the other person, because you're just being real, and authentic. I sometimes I think of it like authenticity it's as attractive as it is rare. Right? So that's one way. Here's another way to keep it real. And this is something that you don't see happen very often, but it's so powerful. And it's essentially acknowledging the change in the conversation. Here's what I mean by that. If, let's say you just met someone, like it wasn't that they like scheduled a consult with you, that kind of conversation, like you just met at a party or a gathering, and you end up talking about what you do. And there comes a point where now they're kind of really asking to find out more, right? And that's where it usually gets weird, right? Like that's when it gets weird. What if instead of you getting weird, you just actually name what's happening? Okay. So if it didn't start out as a sales conversation, what if you said something like, I would really love to help you, and I just want to acknowledge this is starting to become a conversation about maybe looking at working together, which isn't where this conversation started. So I just wanted to kind of pause and acknowledge, and I just wanted to ask you, would you like to explore that further? Either now, or we could set up a time, or did you get all the information you needed from what we already talked about? Do you guys get what's happening there? Like just naming the change in the conversation. It's so powerful, and most people don't do that. They're almost like, maybe they won't notice we're having a sales conversation now, right? So can you just see, it's like when you call it what it is, it gives you both permission to just be yourselves and say what you want. So who thinks this sounds better than what you've been experiencing? Right? And could you see yourself doing that, right? And by the way, who thinks you might get better results if you were being real and present too, right? So you will. So I just want to share something. It's one of my clients, Lori. So this is so interesting to me because when we first started working together, she was actually doing sales for a company. Like that was her day job, was doing sales. And she was doing okay with it. It was paying the bills. But she was getting absolutely nowhere with trying to start her energy healing practice. I don't know, have any of you guys know that you could actually sell other people's stuff more easily than you could sell your stuff? That's a whole other phenomenon. So this is what she shared with me after working together. First, she shared about her sales job. She said, I could just get on my phone and be myself, and I can help them. I'm not trying to fit my square peg in their round hole. And her results more than doubled. Like in a single conversation, she went from about 42% of the time, closing ratio is kind of sales parlance, right? About 42% of the time in a single conversation, people were signing up, and it went to over 90% from a single conversation. And so I was like, that is awesome, Lori. I'm glad you doubled your income, but you came to me for your energy healing business. So what about that? And she's like, oh yeah, I'm booked out 3 weeks in advance now. So that really is the power of it's so much more fun when you're just being yourself. But it's also so much more effective. Okay, so that's that first sort of big hurdle, is the leaving, right? And feeling like you can't be yourself. The next one is this big sort of challenge or mistake that I find most people are making is it's actually just a not understanding this simple fact, which is that sales is just a set of skills. It really is. It's like anybody can learn this. You learn the skills of what you do. You learned how to read and write. You learned how to play an instrument or ride a bike or play a sport, and you can learn sales skills. It's not magic, right? It is just a set of skills. But not understanding that has kept you from learning them or thinking that they'd be yucky skills. And they could be yucky skills, but not the kind that I teach. But it's just a set of skills. And once you have the skills, you can sell your amazing offerings and services like crazy without having to be anyone but you, right? It's basically the situation when someone's interested in what you do, it requires two things. It requires you being yourself with the skills. That's it. When you can be fully present and you have the skills the situation requires, people are going to sign up to work with you. So remember when I was saying, when we were talking about being yourself, I said there was another reason why people get weird and you stop being yourself. This is that other reason, right? It's not just about the belief. This is that other thing. You stop being yourself and being present because you don't know what to do, right? You don't know what to do because you don't have the skills yet, right? Such a great word, yet. Okay. So here's an analogy. Imagine you're a musician. Let's say you play piano. So, a pianist or other musician, they practice their scales and arpeggios or chords over and over, not because they are going to play scales and arpeggios on stage, but they're developing the skills to play the piece of music, right? And once you have those skills, they call them your chops, right? Once you've got good chops, that muscle memory and all that, then it's easy for you to learn a certain piece of music because you have the skill level for that, right? Makes sense? So you do all of that, the scales, practicing the piece so that when you go out on stage, you don't have to be concerned about what the next note is or whether or not you're going to hit it, okay? You know the note and you have this skill to hit it, and that leaves you, because you have the skill level, it leaves you free to be fully present, to allow the music to come through you, and free to really be with the audience in a way you could never be if you were trying to remember what note to play or you didn't have the skills to hit it. Does that make sense? Right? And sales is exactly like that. When you have the skills, you're free to be you and fully present and connected with the other person, and it's kind of clear and obvious what to ask them, and you're just having a real conversation to serve them and help them get what they want. So can you guys see that as much as you might want to be being yourself, if you don't also have the skills, it's kind of like walking out on stage as the performer, and not only do you not know this song, but you don't even know how to play chopsticks, right? it's not going to be a great experience for anybody. Right? So, and it's not your fault. It's just no one ever taught you how. So I'm going to give you an example of a place that you will all recognize very early on in what could be a great sales conversation. So you can see the difference that one simple skill can make. Okay. Right. So I'm going to show you a place where a prospective client or someone who's interested in what you do, they actually lay a trap for you, although they don't mean to. And they don't realize they're doing it, but you're probably falling into this trap almost every time. Okay. So I actually call it the tell me more trap. And here's how it goes. Okay. So you're talking with someone and they express some interest, in finding out more about what you do and offer. We've all had that happen, right? It could be in a casual setting, could be they, referred to you by someone, but they say some version of like the magic words, right? The words you've been wanting to hear. They say something like, well, that sounds interesting. Tell me more, right? I mean, it might be like, tell me how that works or how'd you get, but they're explicitly inviting you to tell them more, right? And your brain's like, woohoo, so they're interested, yay, right? They want to know more. I mean, it might be phrased like, tell me what you do, or like I said, tell me how it works, but they're inviting you to tell them more. And the thing is, that's where you make the mistake because you're missing a skill, okay? You fall right into the trap that they didn't know they were setting you. And you do that because you start telling them more. Now, if you guys get nothing else from this training, please get this. Usually about the worst thing you can do when they say, tell me more, is to jump in and start telling them more. That might sound crazy, but it's going to make perfect sense in just a sec, okay? Here's why. Here's why that's a mistake. You don't know why they want to know more. You don't know what of all the things you could tell them, they actually have any interest in at all. And without knowing why they want to know more, the odds of you giving them the information that they actually want that would make a difference for them are like slim to none. How many of you have ever fire hosed someone with information after they asked about what you do, right? It's really common. You just start going on and on and on and on, and their eyes start to glaze over, and you're like, why am I still talking, right? I can't be the only one who's done this. Who else has done this, right? Right, so here's the thing. How many of you absolutely love what you do? You love what you do. You could geek out about it for hours, couldn't you? You get with a bunch of other people with the same interest, and you could go on forever, and they're never actually asking for that. Okay. So you could probably easily talk for 6 hours about what you do, right? How it works, where it came from, and how much you love it, and how you got trained, and how long you've been doing it, and all the great results people get, and on and on. And so be honest here, guys, because I can't be the only person who's done this. Their eyes do kind of start to glaze over, right? And that's when they say something like, thanks, that was interesting. Thanks for answering my questions. I guess I'll let you know if I want to find out more. And everyone's favorite, I'll think about it, right? And they run, right? So let me know in the chat or wave your hand who recognizes this scenario, right? We've probably all been on both sides of it too, right? It's not like we've done it, we've had it done to us too, right? They may not actually run, but their eyes definitely start to glaze over, and you start to feel weird, right? And not know what to do next. So you keep talking, and then maybe you finally just change the subject or end the conversation. And later you're left thinking something like, what happened? They really seemed interested, right? They seem so interested. I don't know what went wrong. And then probably something like, oh, I hate sales. Anybody? Anybody relate to that? So first thing I want to point out is like, that's not sales, right? That's more like the absence of sales. And the truth is you're right. You don't know what went wrong, but only because this just isn't a knowledge base, right? It's just not a skill set you have yet. Okay. And I'm here to change that. So I'm teaching you right now, I'm about to teach you one small but really powerful skill. Okay. What to say when people ask you to tell them more. Like most skills, once you have it, it is not hard. It just becomes second nature. You don't have to think about it. It's an ingrained skill in me and in, people that I have that I have been working with. So if someone says to me, something like, that's interesting, what can you tell me about it? I don't have to stop and I don't get in my head. I've done my skills and arpeggios, right? So I just naturally say, okay, this is the skill. I'm about to give it to you right now. I naturally just say something like, I would love to, but first, what interests you about it? And then I listen. So that's a writer downer for everybody. Like, if you don't get anything else from this and you start doing this, it's going to change your results. Just this simple thing. Okay. They ask for more and she's like, oh, yeah, I'd love to tell you more. What interests you about it? Or what got your attention? So how many of you guys could see yourself doing that? Just asking that question instead of launching on them. So yeah, please let me know in the chat. Could you see that making a difference for you? Yeah. Yeah, it's huge. I'm telling you, it's huge. Okay, so that one little skill you just learned, that's actually step one of 5 things it's very simple things to do, but to fully handle and be great with the tell me more trap, which add up to a really, just genuine, awesome conversation that isn't weird for you or them and has a really high likelihood of turning into a successful sales conversation. So I picked this skill as the one thing to teach you guys because it happens so early on. Can you guys see that not having this skill is like kind of killing off those possible conversations before they even start, right? Because they're just like, oh, that was more than I needed to know. All right, so that was big mistake number 2, right? It's just not understanding that these are skills that you can learn. So number 1, it kind of falls directly, very directly from mistakes 2 and 3. Okay. Because, or to the degree to which those 2 are true is the degree to which this is true, because you feel like you can't be yourself and you didn't understand that these are skills that you could get. To the degree those are true, that's the degree to which you're stuck in the number 1 way that I find healers relate to sales. Okay. And that it can literally, that whole relationship with sales, it can be summed up in a single word. And that word is actually avoidance. Okay, avoidance. I find most healers don't engage with sales at all if they can avoid it. They'll do just about anything, right? Take another course, go post on social media, rearrange their home office again, right? Like anything to avoid having that actual conversation where you talk about what you do and you give people a price and you invite them to work with you. Is that kind of resonating for anybody? And I just really want to let it sink in because there is a real problem with that. Sales is the only part of your business where you actually make money. So if you are avoiding sales, it means that you're avoiding a good time, the part of your business that makes it a business, right? Do you get it? So that's the trap I find most healers are in. There's a few different ways that could look. I'll tell you just looking at the time, a quick little story. This happened to a friend of mine. We were talking about this and I was talking about the avoidance and she just started laughing. She said, I have to tell you this story because she recognized herself. This is my friend Ahulani, who's an energy healer. She was at a party and just having a great time, meeting a bunch of different people. And then it kind of was getting time for her to head home. So she was kind of made the rounds a little, said goodbye. And she's about to walk out the door and she feels a little tap on her shoulder. So she turns around and there's a woman that she had been speaking with earlier in the evening. And the woman looked at her and said, oh, I think what you do sounds so fascinating. I would really like to work with you. And Ahulani looked her straight in the eye and said, okay, and turned and walked right out the door. Like she couldn't be with it. Do you guys get it? It was right there. And she just couldn't, like the avoidance is strong. Do you guys get it? So it can look that dramatic. But there's other ways it could look. You can kind of check these off if they relate to you, right? It can look like not having any kind of sales process, like not having thought through the decision process that people need to go through to make a decision to work with you. Like if you haven't really kind of engaged with that and have a way that you do that. It could look like not ever having sat down and written out what your conversation could look like when people are interested. Like what do you need to ask them? What do you need to say? Like not having created that. Could also even look like not ever doing the simple math of how much income it is that you need how many like sessions or programs or whatever it is that you sell you would need to get there. Does that make sense? Like it just, I mean, that's one of the most fundamental things to do for business. And I find a lot of healers haven't actually done it, right? Or they did it once and they haven't engaged with it. Do you see how that's the avoidance, right? It could look like not having pricing that you're confident and aligned with, right? Can throw you completely when someone just, if you haven't done, it's kind of like an internal process, like a creative pricing that you can feel really confident and aligned with, then just someone asking how much you charge can completely throw you, right? It can look like not having created any kind of, just different offer for other than just like a session, right? Like, in other words, not having more than one way that people can work with you to meet different needs. Is that resonating for you guys? Can you see like not having those things? It's a missing, and it usually is coming from that avoidance. So yeah, can you see it? How many of you is this resonating with? Let me know. Can you see the avoidance kind of operating? It's just so common, right? I deal with it myself, and can you see if you've been avoiding the sales part of your business? Like clients will just come. It's like, it doesn't work that way. If you have, then you've really been setting yourself up for a lot of frustration and feelings of powerlessness and no real chance of succeeding and making, the money and the difference that you want to make. Okay. So we've been talking about skills, and I taught you this one skill about asking why people are interested before you start to, launch in to try to sell them or tell them about everything you do. So can you see that this question, do you see how asking that question, like just saying, I'd love to, but first, let me ask what interests you about it. Do you see how it would help you feel more present? Can you see that? Like it would actually sort of ground you, right? And do you see how it would help you feel more connected with the other person because you're actually over there in their world instead of being stuck in your own head? And do you see how it would actually help you feel more confident too? Because you're actually finding from them, what is it that they're interested in? Does that make sense? Can you guys see that? And can you see that like this simple change starts to help you have like a real and fun conversation like Ladina that I told you about, right? And this could help you grow from a few clients or just getting started to getting 2, 3, 4 more new clients a month. Does that make sense? Anyone heart-centered, soulful sales. The reality is the best salespeople in the world have done a lot of training. Okay. And sure, they may have had some natural ability too, but even they had to learn the skills, right? There's no reason on earth why you can't learn them too. It's all learnable and teachable. All right. So can you guys see, do you all see that there's a lot more behind what I do? Really like a mountain of experience and training and like honing in on what really works for people like us that we can feel good and aligned and confident with. Does that make, right? Does it make sense to you guys if that one thing could make a big difference? There's so much more that I have to really help you. Does that make sense to you guys? Let me know in the chat. And then I'd also like to know, you've heard my journey and a lot of what's behind this and what it took. And does it make sense that we can't really fit like 20 plus years of experience and training into one class, right? So how many of you guys would like to have access to more than just this one piece? Let me know in the chat or give me a nod, right? Is this resonating? And it's the sort of thing that you'd like to be able to, well, good. So I told you I have a really special invitation for you. So I'm going to show you how we could actually do some work together to help you get really great at this. Get those skills that you need to build a busy practice and the mentorship and all that, so that you really can create. So, as I work to create all this, I realized most people, no matter how good their intentions were, or how hard they were trying, like my intentions were really good and I still couldn't feed my kids, right? They're missing these fundamental skills, right? They're missing the training and the role playing, and they're missing the practice and the feedback and support, right? And it's hands down the biggest reason why they can't build a really successful business. Can you guys, like, some of those things are missing from your business, right? So having worked with hundreds of healers at this point, I see this all the time. So that is why I created, and I'm inviting you all of you who are energy healers or use energy healing in your business, I'm inviting you all to Sold, the heart and soul of sales for healers. Okay, so Sold is a live online event, and it's coming up next month. It's May 20th. 21st and 22nd. We're not going to do Groundhog Day and do the 22nd twice. It's the 20th through the 22nd. And it is a live online event. So you can, I mean, I am local, but you can attend from anywhere. This is an immersion experience. It's really taking a deep dive into what it is to have a successful healing practice and how healers produce the results that they want. And it really is like 3 days of finally putting yourself and your healing business first. Okay. As healers, we tend to put everybody else first, right? And it's like, if we really want to have the impact here, we got to put ourselves and our business first at some point. What's really different about Souls from a lot of other events is that it is only for healers. Okay. So we're going to 100, 150, 200, you know, it was over 150 people last time, all energy healers. And its biggest focus is on this huge missing piece of your business. That's, you know, it is that heart-centered soulful sales. Like, how do you really have these conversations? So I'll just tell you a little bit what I mean by that. Some of you may have done some sales training in the past. If any of you have, you might recognize this. In my experience, most sales training out there in the world is what I call, slightly, but not entirely tongue-in-cheek, high testosterone. It's got a lot of male, you guys know what I'm talking about, right? So a lot of the way sales is taught, it has a lot of male energy to it. It uses language like overcome objections. I mean, literally every sales book out there, one of the chapters is called overcome objections. It's like, overcome them? Like, what? Maybe listen to them, address them, see if you could resolve them. No, be a bulldozer, overcome them. You get what I'm saying, right? Get out there and crush it. Be a great closer. And so for any of you, if you've done some sales training and at least sales training, like, and you learned some techniques, but when you tried them, they just didn't feel like you, like they didn't feel authentic. This is probably why. Okay. Now, I'm not bashing the guys. I want to be clear. Male energy is amazing stuff. It's valuable. It's useful. It's beautiful. I have a lot of it myself, right? But it's not a fit for healers, male or female, as a way of working with people and serving them and inviting them to work with us, right? That energy just isn't a fit. But heart-centered, soulful sales is. Fundamentally, male energy is about the transaction. Does that make sense? Like, that's really what and the transaction is important, okay? But for people like us, it feels off when we feel that the transaction is what's being put first, okay? So female energy is about putting the relationship before the transaction every time. That's what heart-centered sales is. And you can tell when that's happening too, can't you? You can tell if someone has something to offer you and they're putting the relationship as being more important than whether or not you buy. And it's so much more attractive and it's so much more authentic for people like us. Okay, so that's what heart-centered sales really is. And I'm going to show you how we do it. So what Sold is all about is what we're there is I found in speaking with thousands of healers over the past 10 years, I found there's 3 fundamental challenges that trip them up over and over when it comes to creating a real business. And the first is sales, right? And the difference that heart-centered sales makes. So that really is the primary focus. And completely flipping. It's like literally transforming your whole relationship to that. So it doesn't have all those negative connotations. You're going to learn in a really safe space these skills. So you don't ever feel like you're selling, right? It's more like, it's just that we're going to talk about really like what I call the energetics of sales, right? So in the process of learning skills, you're actually going to create and you're going to leave with your own crafted, like customized sales guide, not a script, right? But your own guide. So you always know what to do and how to like be present and effective in your conversations. You're going to gain a real understanding of what I like happening energetically between you and the other person as you're having a conversation. Okay. You're going to learn the state of being that I call souled, which is a great thing. And then what we call souled, a different state of being, which is even better. Okay. And once you actually understand the energetics of sales, everything changes. It's like literally, it's like the woo-woo of sales, right? And you're going to learn how to read the energy of the conversation. So that's number one. And the second of those three big challenges I find is the inner game. Sorry, I just mean to move past there. Is the inner game, right? It's all those subconscious limiting beliefs that we have about ourselves and our work and how we question our value, right? The simple truth is you cannot build your business any bigger than your beliefs about it, right? I mean, literally no one ever has and no one ever will. And we know this because we're like inner belief, limiting belief people, right? But we still, that doesn't, just because we get that doesn't mean we don't need help with it, right? And so that's why I said we're going to have some dedicated time for that inner work, for really deep healing and belief busting, expanding your vision. You're actually literally going to be able to expand. You're going to be able to measure the expansion of your context and what you see as possible for yourself as each day progresses, and see so much more of what is available for you, including having a really thriving healing practice. And that third challenge is, I think, honestly, you might think the biggest breakthrough around sales or limiting beliefs, but I think the biggest hurdle for here is support, like actually receiving support, like being willing to ask for it and take it in and believe in yourself enough to know it's worth investing in and getting the support you need. As healers, we're so much more comfortable supporting other people than letting people support us, right? Like that's our comfort zone, but it's not really doing. So often this is like the biggest breakthrough. As healers, like I said, we're so much more comfortable supporting others. You guys know it's true. And so that I think is a lot of times the biggest magic of soul, is being among a group of healers. We're all supporting each other, who don't think you're weird or too out there. Or if they do, it's their kind of weird. They love you for it because we just get each other, right? So this is about opening yourself to that support that I'm here to provide you and the support of your community. So I'm inviting you to step into that and believe in the value of what you do and dedicate these 3 days to being supported and expanded and transformed, right? And leave with that skill and confidence and support and knowing that you can do this. Like you actually can see the steps, you're taking the steps, you're on your own unique path to a successful healing business that you want and that really supports you. Okay. So I'm going to summarize it here. And so I want to say we've also been doing a lot of really powerful inner work and deep energy healing sessions as a group and clearing all the blocks that are holding. That's built in. So here's the brief summary, right? There's the Heart-Centered Sales Foundation, the guide, the energetics of sales, the practice and implementation, all of those. And here's the thing, the usual price for sold is $97. But this is where I'm just going to stop sharing. I created something different for you guys, for people as part of Rhode Island RIHHA. So there's two kinds of tickets to sold. There's a regular ticket, and that's usually $97. And that includes not only the 3-day event, but a bunch of healing calls that we do before the event even starts on clearing away money blocks and fears around visibility and self-doubt and self-sabotage. There's also a VIIIP ticket, which stands for a very important, intuitive, inspired person. And that's usually $194. What I wanted to offer to all of you guys from this is actually a VIP ticket to sales, excuse me, to sold for just $47, right? So like less than the regular price ticket, but it's a VIP ticket. Like I said, VIIP ticket. I'm going to put the link for it right there, and that will take you to the page where you can see a bit more about it. So like I said, it's coming up May 20th, 21st, and 22nd. It's pretty much an all-day event. It goes like 11 to 6:30, all 3 days. And I would be delighted to have all of you who are energy healers come and you meet us there and be able to get the VIP ticket for just that $47 price. So I see, Lauren, you have a question. I think you have a question. Your hand's raised.
Sorry, I thought I unmuted. I was talking and I'm like, wait, it's not working. Is May the only time that you do this just because of work schedule? Is there summer, or is May the only time? And if May is the only time, could I just attend part of it? Because it said you went till 6,
So,
right?
I won't do it again until sometime in the fall, probably November. What I would say is that it's important to be there. I mean, it's not like if you miss a minute, it's, you should still totally be there. I guess I would say, like, how much do you think you would, how much do you think you could be there? Because it's very interactive and very powerful and
Right.
transformational.
It would probably be half because I don't really get out till 2:30. So
Mhm.
be like the 2:30 to 6:30 part.
I think it's still worth coming.
Okay.
Including the healing calls that we'll do ahead of time. There's some really, really great stuff and a lot of community that gets created there. And the other thing I would say is, like, see if it for maybe maybe you could rearrange things to be there for a little bit more with a month's notice. If you can, I encourage you to do. Yeah.
Okay. Just wanted to check.
Out, right? So ask and see if you can be there, if you can get there earlier. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
All right. So yeah, go ahead and sign up. All right, what other questions you guys have? And by the way, questions about the event, but also about anything that we talked about today and the conversations. Yes,
yeah.
hi.
And how long this link will be valid? Like how long this offer will be valid?
So to get that special price for the 47 with the VIP ticket, which, by the way, I'll tell you, you'll see on the page, there's extra calls for the VIP as well. I thought I would do that till through April 30th. So you would have to sign up before then. And it's really this is like just for you guys, that special price. The other thing I will tell you is that I have also the first, so I just do a quick little, so we like to say, quick decision bonus, right? So the first 7 people of you guys that sign up will also get a personalized, like, an energy healing and abundance affirmation from me. So I'll actually do for you individually, do some energy healing work and clearing away blocks specifically around like success and creating a energy healing. Creating a healing and holistic practice. So I love to do that for people as well. So the first 7 people who jump on that, you'll also get that. And then, yeah, the VIP ticket also includes a training before the event on social media for healers and a pendulum training for healers. And some extra time with me during the event. We'll do like a VIP lunch during the event. So I wanted to throw that in as well for you guys. I was going to just do the half price ticket. And I was like, no, let's do half price and it's VIP. Why not?
That's great. That's great.
Yeah. So yeah, who else has questions? Yeah. Hi, Suzanne.
Sorry about that. So Ann, I just missed, you did say it was virtual?
Yes. Yep. It's online, live online.
And what were the times again?
It will start at 11 Eastern. I mean, we're all Eastern, so I'm so used, because you're talking to people all over the world. You got to give them the time zone. We're all in Eastern, so it'll start at 11 and it goes till 6:30. And then day 2 will actually have a little bonus evening session from 7:30 to 8:30, but it's not essential to be at that, but just a little extra time. But the other 3 days, and we will break at 6:30 even that day. So yeah. Yeah, and then the lunch break will be from 2:30 to 3:30, so you can plan around that. So yeah, so you coming?
I'm interested, yes.
Yeah, go ahead and sign up. It is such a, I love leading this event. People really do leave just sort of changed. There's something about being with that many other healers who just get you, right? And going through this process, like, you really won't ever see what it is to truly create a business doing this work the same way ever again. A lot of times people are really struggling. Like, most healers, I find, are not like entrepreneurial people. Does that make sense? Right. And so a lot of times, but they want to have this business. And so it's like you're trying to like twist and contort your soulful self into these models and funnels and marketing plans that like don't feel right to you because they weren't really created for people like us. Does that resonate for you guys at all? And so what I want you to get is, you don't have to. You don't have, look, if you want to build a seven-figure business, you're going to have to get entrepreneurial. That's the truth, right? But to just have a busy practice doing the work that you love and have a, you know, something that you can really support yourself with, you don't have to do a lot of the like crazy stuff that that's out there and telling you all this different stuff that you have to do to market yourself. There is a different path. You know, I call it the soulpreneur path, and that's really what Soul's all about. So. All right, who else? Anybody else have a question?
Okay. Looks like no questions.
Yeah. And like I said, not just necessarily about the event, but I'd love to, like, you're all here because you have some type of holistic practice and you are wanting to create, you know, or you want to create a business about it. So I'm also happy to just do a little like questions about that or a little coaching, or, you know, tell me what you run up against the most, because I've done it and I've helped a lot of people do it. So, you know, what are your biggest challenges in your businesses? If you look at that.
I have a question. Are you mostly online, or do you have a workspace as well? Do you do a little of both?
I'm all online. Yeah.
Okay.
I do. Yeah. I do all of my healing work virtual. Yeah. But I do have, and most of my clients are also all virtual, but some of them.
Do you feel like that opens your world to more people because you can get people from anywhere?
Yeah. I mean, I've had clients in New Zealand, you know, and all over the world. And it makes it so much easier. And it's also so much, you know, less overhead, right? To not have to have a physical space. So, yeah, I'm a big fan. It's not, you know, it depends on what you do and also what you want. Some people really like having, you know, doing the in-person, but personally, I love the virtual. So, and it is a lot easier, I think, to build a practice that way.
Thank you.
Yeah. And, you know, almost all energy healing work can be done virtually, even if you, you know, might need to take some tweaks or something, but pretty much all of it, it's all energy, right? So, yeah. What else are you like in terms of what you're trying out to create? What are you running up against? Is it mostly like the conversations? Is it more in the marketing and promotion? What are some of the biggest challenges that you guys are facing?
My biggest challenge has been what you talked about, which was when not so much that I give people too much information, but I was not streamlining or asking them what exactly they were looking for. So I would tell them what I thought what they
Yep.
Sometimes based on their reaction, I was like, I don't know if this is what they were looking for. And sometimes it would divert. And then next thing, like I've just spent all this time, you know, yeah, it just felt like fruitless. And not that I mind talking about it, but I just think having that question, like what exactly, yeah, like it just makes more sense to have something a little bit more streamlined. So you do have a jumping off point.
Yeah, you need a process, right? And not a script like you do, that doesn't work. But you need a process. You need to have a sense. Yay, Janine! Yay! I'm so excited you're coming. You need to think through, and I'm here to help you think through, so you don't have to try to create it from scratch. Like I've literally had over 10,000 sales conversations, not exaggerating. You get really good at something if you do it 10,000 times, right? Okay. And so I'm here to help you so you don't have to do that, right? To be able to create. Yay, Lauren. Yay. I'm so excited you're coming. that process, right? And it is mostly about asking questions. I think
Yeah.
a lot of the problem is we get caught up in like trying to create the perfect words to figure out, because look, let's face it, what we do is weird. It's weird, right? And it's weird and it's woo-woo. I'm on kind of a mission to like reclaim the word woo-woo and be like proudly woo-woo. You know, I'm like, yeah, it's woo-woo. Woo-woo's where it's at, right?
Yeah.
It's not woo-woo, it's woo-woo. Sorry, I have lots of fun with that word. And you know, but it's strange for some people and it's hard. And so we get caught up in, I have to figure out like the exact right words to say to explain it. And we're honestly, it's not that it's not good to have different ways to explain it and have it. Like for how many of you did that analogy of playing piano? It made a difference for you, right? You like helped you see, right? So having things like that, right? Having maybe an analogy or metaphor for something can be really helpful. So I'm not saying it's not worth time to like put into, you know, some time into how to describe what you do, but it's what most people are doing is they're going in super deep. They're trying to describe in great detail. Well, we do this and then we do this and then I use a magnet and then we move this and then we go into that chakra. And it's like, it just ends up sounding confusing to people, right? And if it sounds confusing, they're not interested. People are not interested in being confused, right? But if you instead realize, oh, it isn't about you coming up with the perfect words, but it is about having a bunch of really good questions.
Okay.
Right. And they don't have to be complicated questions. One of my favorite questions to ask people, if someone say like they've booked a free consult with me, right, to find out what I do, I just started by asking why we're talking, you know, like what is it they you know, we're interested in, looking for help with. And I had some pretty simple questions like, how long has that been going on? I get a lot of great information just asking how long that's been going on, right? What else have you tried? I get a lot of great information for that. I learned so much just by asking really simple questions. So, and then when we get to the part where then, and you're going to learn this at Sold, you're going to learn how to have this whole conversation and how to read the energy of it as we go. When you get to the part where you're actually going to, you know, make a recommendation for what they do, they mostly want to do it because you took the time to find out what's really going on with them. And here's the other thing. My consultations, that's what I call it, right? When someone books just a, you know, free conversation with me to help decide if they want to work with me, they're 15 minutes long tops. It's not this big hour-long thing because I'm getting right to what's there. And that wasn't the case, but it's, you know, when I first started, they used to tell me, if you like some of those conversations, they go on for a long, long, long time. And then there's still no decision at the end, right? So this is going, right? I've been there, but now I know how to have that conversation in a way where we really get right to the point. They feel very listened to and very heard, right? Because I'm asking good questions, but it's not about them telling me their life story either, right? It's about really getting at the pertinent stuff so that then I can just make a recommendation that really makes sense to them. And I just say, I really think this is what I recommend. We should start off with a, you know, package of 5 sessions. Let's get at this and go from there. And they're like, yeah, here's my card. You know, it's feels complicated when you're learning it. And then once you, like most things, once you kind of get it down, it's so simple. All right. Anyone else? Anything else you're like, you know, something that you learned from today or that you can see yourself doing differently in your conversations or in your practice? Yeah, go ahead, Linda.
How do you know what to charge? Like to me, that's always when it comes down to the actual, you know, price, particularly because like, you know, some places where you meet people are, let's just say more high-end places. So, you know, people have more expendable income, but a lot of people are at a vulnerable space or a threshold moment that are actually looking for us. And sometimes we're meeting them at, um, uh, I don't know how to say, like, people who don't have a lot of expendable company but really need a lot of help. And so like where does the, you know, when it comes to costs, like you want them to feel like it's not charity, but you do want, like you want to do the work that you do, but there's that value exchange. So could you address some of that?
We could talk a long time about this, but I'll try to keep it thing. So actually have a whole program just about this. It's called Perfect Price Point. But really, it's about coming up with pricing that truly works for you and not worrying so much about the other people. And that doesn't mean that we're not sensitive to people's situations, but you have to have pricing that's your pricing that works for you, right? And that's more of an internal process than it is doing research and seeing what like other people are charging and going rate and all that stuff. I mean, that can be helpful, but ultimately it really, I know people who do very similar work who charge, you know, $50 a session and charge $350 a session, and they get, you know, and they both get it. They both get people pay that and are happy for it. And their work's not necessarily all that different. Okay. So that's what I'm saying. It really has to be what works for you. And that's really going through a process. And one of the things that can be helpful is to kind of play with the numbers and see how they really feel for you. If you go down a bit, you'll get to a point where it feels really yucky to think of charging that, right? And then also if you go up, they'll get to a point where it feels like you'll feel guilty and you feel like a fraud or imposter if you charge that, right? And that just experimenting with that kind of, you know, energetically, essentially, can help you come up with something that is your good price for now. And then it'll change over time, because it doesn't, like, no matter what your price is, no matter what it is, there will always be people who will have opinions about it, that it's too high or it's too low. If there's one thing the world will never run out of, it's opinions. Okay, so right, infinite supply of those. So if you have a price that's authentic and aligned for you, their opinions don't matter. Now, having said all that, there could be a situation where you do give a discount for a certain situation, but you don't want to be like constantly giving discounts, right? Because you're too worried about other people's situation. There could be, you know, all kinds of things. Like I have a certain set of price, but occasionally I've had I can think of one a few years ago. I had a client who was in Africa, in a completely different economy than I'm in, right? Like, my regular pricing was representative of a way bigger part of her income than the same thing would be for just about anybody in this country, honestly, you know. And I still charged her, but I charged less, right? And that just felt like the right thing to do, right? So that you can always do that, but you got to do that internal work to come up with the thing that genuinely feels right to you. And I'm going to remember I said I could talk about this for a while, but I'm going to throw something else out there. When you undervalue what you do, when you don't charge enough for it, and enough is a completely relative term, that's why I did the air quotes, consider that you're also signaling to your potential clients that they're not worth more. I mean, just sort of try that on, right? And is that really what we want to be signaling to them? That they're not worth paying something more? Like I said, we could talk about this for a while, right? There's like levels and levels and layers of it, but I wanted to kind of throw that in there because what I'll say undercharging or going for lower pricing, it's usually not coming from an empowered place. It's usually, it's usually coming from a devaluing ourselves. And I want to point out, because sometimes just the fact that we're devaluing ourselves isn't enough of a motivation to change something, because there can be, self-worth issues and all that stuff. So I like to point out that what if it's also devaluing your clients? And somehow that can like hit a little differently. So was that helpful? Or did I just give you way too much more to think about? All right, who else? We still have a little time. I'm happy to, like I said, just share what anything I can to help with anything that's going on in your business. And I'm so psyched that some of you guys are coming to Sold. Yeah, go ahead, Suzanne.
Did sign up. I'm excited. This is something that I've been really thinking about. I am a social worker, clinical social worker. So, talk about values, it's hard where you work with populations that, are struggling. And so I've always had referrals. Never had to worry about that, but I also do bill through insurance companies. So for me, this is a big leap. I've had private pay, but I'm thinking about, do I go over to private pay? And that's something I'm kind of struggling with a bit,
Yeah. I mean, it's a big question. Yeah, it's a very big question. Right? The whole thing from insurance and everything. And personally, it's not something I've dealt with because I never did anything that insurance really covered. Like even like I was a massage therapist for years too, but insurance doesn't typically cover that either. And so it's not something I have like a personal story or journey with, although I've certainly talked with other people about it, but it's a big decision. Depending on what you're offering. So what is it you're doing now? And what is it that you may also be wanting to offer? So tell me the things you could be doing for people.
Yes, I pretty much, do individual therapy, psychotherapy, but I've always for 25, 30 years have incorporated, mind body techniques, energy. And if I were to market that part of it versus, just getting referrals that I might tend to get from other my usual sources, I think that would be great. I would probably get more motivated people, more people that are interested in that kind of work. And then I could charge.
Yeah, I mean, I think for that, and you want to keep doing the clinical psychotherapy. It's not
Right.
something that you want to leave behind, right? So, because that would also be a different conversation, right? I don't see any reason why you can't just do both, and they're just two separate things. You're marketing them as two different things, right? So one is through the insurance, and it's that, and then just separately, you're doing your energy healing work. And I would recommend just start doing that, right? Right. Come up with a price that you feel good about. And go from there. That's that people get very hung up on the pricing, like getting the price thing, and it's like just pick something, get started, and you can always raise your prices, right? But yeah, I think that's what I would do in your circumstance is so you have people through insurance that they're doing one service, and then people who are private paying, it's actually something different. I mean, I get that it might not in practice be in the session, it might not be as different as it'll sound. I totally get that. But that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that.
Thank you.
Yeah. And it's not that hard, and you'll learn some about how to do that at Sold. So it's great that you're coming. All right. Anyone else? This is fun. Okay, I guess we're done. I really just want to leave you guys like you can do it. You really can. Right? You really can have. When I first, I told you about 2007, but I didn't tell you about 2017. 2017, I had a small energy healing business, right? Maybe made a few $100s a month. But I was working doing sales and also sort of some marketing. Like I was involved in a company that was doing marketing for this other company that actually sells energy healing programs. So I was doing sales for them. We were like generating leads for them. And then I was doing the sales and I was selling. That's one of the reasons I had 10,000 sales conversations, mostly with energy healers, because, signing them up for certification programs. And then I got this email saying that company, they were not going to do the marketing, use the company I was representing for the marketing anymore. They still wanted me to do sales, but they thought they had a better way of generating leads. And I knew they would be wrong. I knew that what they were going to do was basically, I was looking at that within 6 weeks, my income was probably going to go down by 80 to 90%. And I was the primary income earner in my household, had a kid in college, another one in high school. I mean, it was like, holy shit. It was a moment, let me tell you. And so I had like a month or so like to decide what I was going to do. And it was either like, do I go and try to get this sort of marketing thing like with another company and try to get that going, or do I decide to really go for it and build my energy healing business? I remember I was making like a few $100s a month, And I didn't know anybody who was making anything like a living wage doing energy healing at that time, right? I knew a lot of energy healers and they were mostly broke, right? But it's what I really wanted to do. So I decided to go for it, and I just went all in to start building my business. And right at the time that pretty much almost all the, like, I was still doing a little sales, but there were hardly any leads because they basically cut off the marketing pipeline that was working. They thought they had a solution. They were wrong. So right around that time, I just really went all in. And that first month I made about 3,500, I think about 3,500. And then I think by the second, another month later, it was close to 5,000. I was like, ooh, I think this is working. And a year later, I went and looked from like April 1st of 2017 to March 31st of 2018, and made about $106,000 just doing one-on-one energy healing. And that was only back when I charged only like $85 a session. That was a lot of sessions to make that much money. So I know it's possible. And I also know it would not have been possible if I didn't know how to sell. Like, there's no amount of marketing. There's no amount of, like, I didn't do it with social media, like, stuff, but I did it mostly with referrals, but there's no amount of, marketing, promoting that can substitute for the conversation where you turn the lead into a client. Like, it's the one skill you have to have if you're going to have a successful business, is you have to know how to sell what you do. You just do. Like, there's no way around it. And so I know that that's why I was able to do what I do. And that's why, I help healers with all the parts of their business, with marketing and stuff too. But what I always lead with is sales, because I'm like, that's the one you have to have. So I hope that got through to you guys. Like, you do have to learn how to do this, whether you learn it from me or someone else. You got to learn how to sell and get better and better at it. And if you do, you can have a really busy business doing what you love. So that's my story.
That was amazing. Yeah. And this is like very insightful and very, very phenomenal. Like, I learned many things just from this one session. So I believe the 3-day course must be like very intense.
It's awesome. It's awesome. Are
Yeah.
you coming? Can you come?
Yes.
Yay! Go sign up. Go sign up.
Yeah. I
You'll love
see
it.
there are like VIIP and VIP. I know you explained it, but can you?
VIIP. It's just a joke, right? Usually VIP. Part of the reason I said it is because VIP is used a lot, right? It's just a thing that we all do. And I feel like healers as a group are a little, like, I don't know, we're a little anti-privilege people. Do you know what I mean? Like, I wasn't sure it landed well, right? So I was like, but it's also like, how else do you say? And so that's why I came up with VIIP, because it stands for very important, intuitive, inspired person. I was like, oh, healers will love that. So that's what it came from. It's just my little twist on the concept of VIP. So yeah, so for you guys, with that special link that I sent you, that is really just for you, you'll get a VIIP, I think I put a fourth in there, ticket for half the price of a regular ticket through April 30th, which is my birthday.
Oh.
By the way. So I was gonna just make it for a couple days, but I was like, oh, I'll only make it till the end of the month. So if you have to look or rearrange something, but if you don't, just go ahead and sign up now, right?
Great.
And then we'll get started with the, I didn't get in I call them the healer support power package calls. So those are 3 calls that we do in May before the event even started. We do some really, really powerful group healing together. So the first one's on self-doubt and self-sabotage. And then the second one is on blocks around money and abundance. And then the third one is on clearing my blocks around being visible, essentially, like being known. Healers have a lot of struggles being visible and being known for what we do. I can see the nods, right? Really, it's like we're the great granddaughters of the midwife who got head chopped off because she treated people with herbs. Like, for real, it's real. And it's like, last time I said I was a healer, they burnt me at the stake. Why would I have to say that again? So that's there's some really deep healing that needs to be done around just that visibility piece. So we're going to do all 3 of those before Soul even starts. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, great. Yeah. So thank you so much, Anne,
You're
for
welcome.
sharing your story and being here as a speaker and giving us this phenomenal talk and presentation and the generous offer, I would say, like for all the RIHA members. So we,
Yes.
on behalf of RIHA, I do really very appreciate for all your offerings.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank
Let
you.
everybody know. Let them know they have till April 30th to sign up.
Yes, yes, yeah. Maybe like how about you can send us all these details, like maybe a little flyer or something. We can just put it for our other members.
I guess, yeah. I mean, they can just, if they click on the link, it'll take them to that page.
Okay,
So maybe that's the
okay.
simplest thing.
Mhm.
Yeah, because it's a little shorter version of the page. The full page that describes the event a little more is a little different, but it still gives them all the details they know, and in the VIP calls too. Like you're going to do a training with one of the coaches who works for me, Kachi Rusana, and she's going to do a training on social media, like specifically for healers. And then Maggie Salter, who's a psychic medium, who also works for me, she's going to do a pendulum training for everybody. So those are some extra VIP stuff that you guys are getting as well. Yeah, it's really fun.
Great. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Yeah. So thank you
Thanks,
so much,
everyone.
Anne. And thank you everyone for joining us tonight. And we will be sending this recording link once it is available. Thank you,
Yeah,
everyone. Yeah.
beautiful. All right. Bye,
Have a
everyone.
good night. Bye bye.
Bye.